facing justice cannibal who mutilated his Grindr date victim before cutting his testicles off and eating them for his sexual pleasure.
This next clip is, I believe, the last thing I had posted last night on the StoreMaker app. The world never sleeps, bro. The wicked don't sleep. There's no rest for the wicked, bro. You don't sleep, bro. Are you telling me how it is again? Are you telling me how it is again?
I'm not going to put up with it.
Oh, play the victim, huh? Have you been being poisoned? Has somebody been poisoning you for 9 years?
Poison me the fucking house.
No, we're not doing it your way. We're doing it my way. We've been doing it your way for 40 years. It's my turn, my way. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's your bag. Get the fuck out of my house.
No, how about I go expose you instead?
No.
Yeah.
Your shit. Get the fuck
No,
out.
you put your dick in 11-month-old baby girl.
I don't give a fuck.
You've been sentenced to death. Sentenced. You've been sentenced.
Get the fuck out.
You have been sentenced to death. No, you've been sentenced to death. No, you've been sentenced. You stole this house. This ain't your house. You've been sentenced to death for putting your dick in an 11-month-old baby girl's ass and killing her, anally raping her, and then how do you play the victim after you do that? How do you do it? Your brother in there, transgender Alice Reese, cuts men's testicles off and eats them for her sexual pleasure. How do y'all play the victim after you do that?
Tell it to somebody else.
Because you don't care, right?
I used to care.
Right. Now this next clip is what happened this morning. First thing this morning. On August 13th, 2023. Now, by the time I was able to push record on my and turn my tablet on, it had already punched out with its fist the bottom part of my door and caused part of the door to fall on my coffee table in my bedroom, and water and drinks went everywhere, right? When it had saw that I was recording it, it kind of stopped what it was doing and said it had a better way of doing this. Let's try something. He said he had a different way of doing this. Let's try something different. You know, whenever he really realized he was being recorded. And then, so what he did was he, like, waited maybe a couple hours or so. And then he handed me more poison and made me sick again. Now the way he did it and the way he said it was to make it seem like he was wanting to act right, and like he kind of felt bad for his behavior, but no, it was just a I didn't fall for it because I've seen it too many times, but yeah, it was just a front, right, so that I would be more acceptable to consuming his poison without thinking that there was anything wrong with it.
Let our evils within and around us begin to bow to us by fire. Let the knees of spiritual deeds bow to the neck. Stolen from me, all that has been stolen from the believer, in the name of Jesus. Any power that has swallowed our inheritance, vomited by fire, by the blood of Jesus, no spiritual robbers shall invade our life again. My life, your life. Yekate baro shani gabo. Goods are preserved by the blood of Jesus. Let sorrow and tears be wiped out of our inheritance in the name of Jesus. Let our land begin to experience rest, peace, and joy in the name of Jesus. By the blood of Jesus, let your land, let my land be healed from sicknesses and diseases in the name of Jesus. Let that visit eaters of good things in your life in the name of Jesus. Any evil tongue arising, any evil tongue arising against you, arising against your increase, let them be cut off. I can hereby condemn. I condemn them now. I use the blood of Jesus to redeem the days. I use the blood of Jesus to redeem my days. Redeem your days by the blood of Jesus. I use the blood of Jesus to redeem my nights from destruction. They walk at night in the name of Jesus. Let the earth begin to yield its increase unto you in the name of Jesus. Receive divine wisdom to overcome the craftiness of destroyers in the mighty name of Jesus. Let the fire of God surround your life and property. Sudden destruction will not locate your habitation. All conscious and unconscious opportunities with thieves and robbers, today they perish, today they cease. You shall not walk into destruction. Oh Lord, let your angels in legions preserve us and our properties in the name of Jesus. Let the thunder of God scatter any gathering aimed at stealing God's possessions.
So your brother eats men's testicles for sexual pleasure. You rape children and eat their bodies, and then you play the victim, huh? How do you play the victim after you eat children, bro? You eat children, bro. You kill them.
I ate too.
You tried to, man.
I put salt and pepper on you.
You tried to, bro. You got mad at your mom every time she rescued me from where you had me to die in the kitchen. Bro. You just broke all kind of shit when you busted my door down, bro.
I paid for everything.
No, you did not. You stole it. I know. That's why you leave price tags on shit. When you're supposed to be paying people back shit from what you stole from them, you give them gifts with price tags on them to let them know you paid for this. You have the right to destroy it if you can't control them. We know your game, bro. Okay, I tell you what, I got something for you, bro. Have you ever taken responsibility for anything in your life? I'm tired of this. I'm already doing something about it. I just read in the Bible last night that you're about to be destroyed. So then he had more poison. Okay, now I'm sick as a dog. While they're feeling pretty good about it behind their spyware, except for the part that I'm exposing them. I'm pretty sure he poisoned my pizza that was in the freezer today. Okay, so this came out of a nickel bag of weed that he just gave me the other night. I just let it soak in soap and water, and this is what was left. That's how much poison was in I think it was about a nickel bag of weed that he gave me.
3D838 case number D2003 Warner v. State 829 decided this case Warner September 2006 Charles Frederick Warner appellant versus State of Oklahoma case number D2003 Lumpkin 829 decided judge September 26 Charles Frederick Warner was tried by jury and convicted of first-degree murder State of Oklahoma child abuse appellee count I 21 OS Lumpkin 1991 Section 700 was tried by jury and convicted of first-degree murder child abuse 21 OS 1991 Section 1111 and 1114 Case No. CF 97-5249 in the District Court of Oklahoma County. In Count I, the jury found the existence of two aggravating circumstances and recommended the punishment of death. In Count II, the jury recommended a sentence of 75 years imprisonment. The trial court sentenced accordingly. From this judgment and sentence, appellant has perfected this appeal. 1. 2. Appellant was charged and convicted of the first-degree rape and murder of 11-month-old Adriana Waller. The victim and her mother, Shonda Waller, lived with appellant and his 2 children, 6-year-old Charvin and 5-year-old Vonada. 2-year-old Dasha, appellant's daughter from another relationship, stayed with them on occasion. On August 22, 1997, appellant left early that morning to pay a traffic fine at City Court. He returned home at approximately 10 o'clock to 10:30 a.m. Ms. Waller prepared lunch for appellant and the older children and fed the victim baby food. At approximately noon, Ms. Waller left for the grocery store. All 4 children remained at home with appellant. At the time Ms. Waller left, the victim was dressed in a jumpsuit. Ms. Waller returned home at approximately 2 o'clock to 2:30 p.m. She glanced in the master bedroom and saw the victim lying on the bed. The victim appeared to be sleeping. Ms. Waller noticed the victim was dressed only in her diaper. Later that afternoon, appellant and Ms. Waller decided to take all the children with them to run errands. Ms. Waller intended to get the victim ready, but appellant stopped her and volunteered to retrieve the victim from the bedroom. Appellant returned to the living room holding the victim and saying that she was not breathing. When appellant handed the victim to Ms. Waller, the victim was limp. Ms. Waller began screaming and told appellant to take them to the emergency room. Appellant drove Ms. Waller and all the children to the emergency room. On the way, Ms. Waller gave the victim CPR. They arrived at the hospital at approximately 3:40 p.m. Emergency personnel took the victim and continued resuscitation efforts. All efforts failed and the victim was pronounced dead at 4:07 p.m. Emergency charge nurse Robin Justice was cleaning the victim before Ms. Waller saw her when she noticed bright red blood around the victim's rectum and tears to the rectum. Ms. Justice testified at trial that the injuries appeared to be fresh and recent. She called police and notified the attending physicians Drs. McCrate and Hill. 4 Dr. McCrate observed bright red blood staining the skin around the victim's rectum and tears around the rectum. X-rays indicated 2 skull fractures, one of which was depressed, and 2 fractures to the left jaw. Dr. McCrate testified that the injuries were recent, consistent with a violent shaking and inconsistent with a fall from a bed to a carpeted floor. He also testified that upon sustaining such injuries, the victim would not be able to eat, drink or play. His diagnosis was sexual and physical abuse. 5 In conducting the subsequent autopsy, the medical examiner Dr. Choi determined the cause of death to be multiple injuries to the victim's head, chest, and abdomen. She determined the manner of death to be a homicide. Dr. Choi testified the victim suffered a crushing-type injury to her head and internal injuries to her brain. The victim's jaw and 3 ribs were fractured, her liver was lacerated, and her spleen and lungs were bruised. There were bruises on the victim's chest the size of adult fingertips. She also observed retinal hemorrhages in the victim's eyes, which she testified were consistent with the victim being violently shaken. Additionally, Dr. Choi observed 6 different tears around the victim's rectum, which she testified were consistent with blunt force penetration. Dr. Choi also testified that upon receiving her injuries, the victim would not have been able to eat, drink or play. 6 Interviewed first at the hospital, appellant told officers he brought the victim, her mother, and the children to the emergency room. He said he had been in the master bedroom with the victim and 2-year-old Dasha. He said Dasha gave the victim something to drink. After a while he left the room. When he returned to the bedroom between approximately 2 o'clock and 3 p.m., the victim was lying on the floor crying. He picked her up and noticed she had hit her head. He said she seemed to be dazed. He tried to comfort her and laid her on the bed to sleep. When he returned to get her at approximately 3:30 p.m., she was not breathing. Later, when appellant was arrested, he complained to officers that the knuckles on his right hand were sore. 7 In a subsequent search of appellant's home, officers discovered a sexually explicit videotape in the VCR located in the master bedroom, and a jar of Vaseline and a bottle of aloe vera gel nearby. 8 At trial, appellant's son Charvin testified appellant was the only adult with the children when Ms. Waller went to the store. He said that on the day the victim died, he saw appellant in the master bedroom shaking her. He said appellant was often angry with the victim because of her crying and general noisiness. Charvin admitted that he had previously testified the victim died because she was beat up. 9 In his defense, appellant presented 8 witnesses. These included medical experts who testified that the victim would have immediately lost consciousness upon sustaining the head injury. Her injuries were consistent with hitting her head on a wooden bed frame, and the injuries to her chest could have occurred during CPR. Defense witnesses also testified that Charvin had said he had lied when he said he saw Appellant hit the victim, that Ms. Waller had originally said Appellant drove her to the store and she waited for him to take her home, that Appellant was left-handed, and that he took good care of the victim. 10. During the second stage of trial, in addition to incorporating all evidence from the first stage, the state presented evidence showing that Appellant's 4-year-old daughter Vonetta had been physically abused by Appellant, that Appellant physically punished Charvin and Vonetta by whipping them with a belt or electrical cord, and that Appellant had physically abused his ex-wife Vonrika Warner. In mitigation, Appellant presented 13 witnesses. The jury found the existence of the 2 alleged aggravating circumstances, continuing threat and especially heinous, atrocious or cruel, and recommended the death penalty. The trial court sentenced accordingly. Appellant raises 18 propositions of error in his appeal. These propositions will be addressed in the order in which they arose at trial 2. Jury selection issues 11. Appellant contends in a second assignment of error that juror misconduct occurred when Juror Scales failed to advise the court during voir dire that she knew second-stage defense witness Marcella Andrews. Appellant's argument is supported by affidavits attached to his motion for a new trial, filed with the district court. These affidavits allege that it was not until Andrews' second-stage testimony did Juror Scales recognize her as someone her sister, Annette Williams, had known for years. These affidavits also allege that Juror Scales was present during conversations her sister had with Michelle Thompson, Andrews' sister and the mother of Appellant's daughter Dasha Warner, about Appellant's case. 12. The record shows that during voir dire the trial judge read a list of witnesses, which included Andrews' name. The judge then asked the jury panel if they recognized any of the names. Juror Scales made no response. Later on in voir dire, the judge specifically asked Ms. Scales if she knew anything about the case or knew any of the witnesses or people involved. She replied in the negative. Nothing further is contained in the transcript concerning any knowledge Juror Scales may have had of a witness or any objection to Ms. Scales' service on the jury. 13. Initially, Appellant's argument is based upon information gained from post-verdict interviews and set out in ex parte affidavits. The claim of error and supporting affidavits were included as the 12th of 16 allegations raised in the motion for new trial, filed with the district court. At formal sentencing, the trial judge noted he had been presented a motion for new trial. Defense counsel indicated she wanted to stand on the motion. Therefore, no argument or evidence was presented in support of the motion. The trial court overruled the motion without comment. At 14. Appellant's ex parte affidavits, which have not been subjected to cross-examination, are not properly before this court for review. 3C Stafford v. State, 1983 OKCR 86, paragraph 15, 665 p. 2D 1205, 1211. Vacated on other grounds. 467 U.S. 1212, 104s, Court, 2651, 81 L at 2D 359, 1984. This court found it improper to permit the litigation of factual issues by ex parte affidavits and attachments on appeal. See also Dewberry v. State, 1998 OKCR 10,